Anxious and terrified parents wait. The joyous tumult of a schoolyard playground shattered by dozens of rounds from an automatic weapon.
You need to go home. The hospital will call you.
An American landscape becomes the stage for a slaughter of the innocents. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A hail of horror in California today. A gunman with an assault rifle and automatic weapon opened fire in a school playground in Stockton. He left a trail of dead and wounded children. Jerry Bowen reports.
5 children were killed, at least 30 more wounded when the lone gunman invaded the Cleveland Elementary School in Stockton shortly before noon today and opened fire with automatic weapons.
Then I heard the gunshots and I was scared.
The gunman, wearing combat fatigues and a flak jacket, set his car on fire as a diversion, said police, before the shooting spree began. And when it was over, he took his own life with a shot to the head. Helicopters and a fleet of ambulances took the wounded to 5 area hospitals, and hundreds of parents converged on the campus. Shock gave way to anxiety and chaos.
This is terrible. My worst nightmare.
At an adjacent church, there was a hastily scribbled list of the wounded for arriving parents to check.
These are the ones who are hurt, right?
Yeah.
And which one are the ones that are dead? Died.
Inside the school, there were children waiting to be found, nervous parents eager to find them.
If you don't see your child, please, if you don't see your child here, go over to the main cafeteria. There are more children over there.
There is a large Vietnamese population in the farming town of Stockton in Cleveland Elementary School. A grim irony, said one official, they should flee their war-scarred homeland for safety, only to find their children confronted here by a gunman who launched war on the neighborhood school playground. Tonight, investigators are searching for a motive. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Across the continent in Miami tonight, there was renewed violence as police closed off parts of Liberty City and Overtown following reports of gunfire, beatings, and car burning. All of that followed a night of arson and looting in Miami after the police killing of a black motorcyclist during a chase. Late today, a passenger on the motorcycle died of injuries suffered when it crashed. CBS News correspondent Juan Vasquez reports on the Martin Luther King Day outbreak that marked the Super Bowl city's 4th episode of rioting in this decade.
Cleanup crews moved in quickly at daybreak to pick up and sweep away the debris of a night of violence in Overtown. Late today, the FBI announced that it would open a civil rights investigation into the shooting of a black motorcyclist by a white policeman. Super Bowl week was supposed to be Miami's moment to shine, but for a few hours last night, it was anything but a super city.
You know, timing for a tragedy of this sort is always bad.
The deep-seated anger was evident on the street. Mayor Suarez was pelted with rocks and bottles when he tried to quiet down the crowd. Among the unanswered questions are why police fired at the motorcyclist for an alleged traffic violation and whether he was shot deliberately.
I'm mad. I want to know who did it and why they did it.
The first officers on the scene were attacked. Before they regained the upper hand, several were hit and at least one patrol car was stoned. Other cars were set on fire. A CBS News crew was assaulted and arsonists torched a warehouse next to a junkyard.
The nation, the country needs to know that Miami still has unresolved problems with its black community, and those problems are likely to erupt during Super Bowl week or not.
Local officials saw the Super Bowl as a perfect opportunity to show that Miami has more to offer than drugs, refugees, and riots. Instead, the spotlight has shifted to the city's problems. More Central American refugees arrived in Miami today, and even though the city doesn't know what to do with the latest immigrant wave, some blacks see them as a threat.
A lot of black folk just shook their head and said that here we go again. Marelitos before, and now here come the Nicaraguans.
Local officials downplayed the similarities with the Miami riots of 1980 and 1982, saying the latest violence involved much smaller crowds. Despite official expressions of optimism that the worst was over, there was sporadic violence late today, with police bracing for more disorders tonight. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Miami.
In Washington, an internal Justice Department report out today blasts the ethics and conduct in office of President Reagan's close old friend and former U.S. Attorney General Edwin Meese. This 61-page report says Meese's conduct would have warranted disciplinary action if it had been released in time, if he were still in office. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver has our report.
The Justice Department's own ethics office today accused former Attorney General Edwin Meese of conduct which should not be tolerated of any government employee, especially not the Attorney General of the United States.
I'm confident it marks the end of an era, not the beginning of a legacy about the standard for an Attorney General.
Last summer, when the independent counsel investigating Meese did not prosecute, Meese declared victory.
He has made the definitive judgment that there are no criminal proceedings, and therefore vindication naturally follows.
But today, Justice Department officials said that far from vindicates Mr. Meese. They declared that in seeking to help his friend, E. Robert Wallach, get a contract for the Wedtech Defense Corporation and promote an Iraqi oil pipeline, Meese either did not understand or did not appreciate or simply did not care what impression could be left with the public about his own integrity.
Here's a case where Attorney General Meese felt that he was doing his job so long as he wasn't indicted, as though that was a badge of honor. And President Reagan, who was his close friend, was willing to close his eyes to what everybody in the country was seeing.
In fact, the report said that were Meese still Attorney General, we would recommend that the president take disciplinary action. But the White House said the president still believes Meese was an effective Attorney General, but has always had political enemies.
They have chosen to color him as a man who had base motives, and that's a terrible thing to do.
Meese's successor said he accepted the report, but neither endorsed nor repudiated its findings.
I think Mr. Meese is entitled to some peace, and we're entitled to get on with the business of the Department of Justice, which we intend to do.
Meese himself is on vacation and did not comment on the report that calls his actions inconsistent with the highest standards that the American people demand. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Justice Department.
And still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Bill Plant on some of the rest of what President Reagan leaves behind, and Leslie Stahl on what may be ahead for Dan Quayle.
Garrity, that's shredded wheat, not a TV dinner.
Well, that's how we do it in Nome.
Nome? I didn't know you were from Alaska.
Not Nome, Alaska, Nome, Texas.
I never saw anyone eat shredded wheat hot before.
Oh, sure. My mom used to pour hot milk on it.
Try Nabisco shredded wheat in your microwave. In just a minute or two, you can have a delicious hot breakfast with no added sugar or salt.
If they microwave it in Texas, what do they do in California?
They tan it.
Is this any way to spend a weekend? Get away to Marriott's 2 for Breakfast weekend, where you can be alone together, relax by the pool, or try our fitness room, dine and dance the night away. Through April 1st, just $59 to $89 per night, not per person, depending on location. A hearty breakfast for 2 is included. Marriott's 2 for Breakfast weekend from $59 to $89. Call 1-800-USA-WKND.
The product, the proving grounds, the results. STP gas treatment is the edge.
Phone calls, deadlines, stomach complaints, my job, and my Lanta 2.
Double strength Mylanta 2 with nearly double the acid neutralizing power of any leading regular strength brand.
Because my life takes my Lanta 2.
As he prepares to leave office Friday, President Reagan is winding up his series of public and private farewell appearances, talking up his record and his view of his legacy. CBS News White House correspondent Bill Plant reports now what the new CBS News New York Times poll indicates the public may now think of the Reagan presidency.
Ronald Reagan is leaving office more popular than any departing president since public opinion polling began. Our new CBS News New York Times poll shows Mr. Reagan with an overall approval rating of 68%, nearly identical to the figure at the very beginning of his term. Peace and prosperity are a part of the reason. A staggering 88% of those interviewed applaud the way he's handled relations with the Soviets, and 71% like his overall performance in foreign policy. 62% are pleased with his handling of the economy. A lot of people just plain like Ronald Reagan.
The biggest talent he's got is he knows how to make people feel good.
Despite the president's personal popularity, people are dissatisfied about a lot of domestic issues. 71% say crime has gotten worse since 1980. 70% say the Reagan administration hasn't done enough for the homeless. On the two problems the public says are most important, 54% say the administration hasn't done a good job of fighting drugs, and 48% say Mr. Reagan bears all or most of the responsibility for the size of the deficit.
Certainly the deficit is a terrific example of a major problem which just got worse and worse, and there was a bit of the quality of what me worry to Ronald Reagan.
History's final judgment of Ronald Reagan's record on specific issues will have to wait a while, but there seems to be no question that the way Mr. Reagan governed, his style, his ability to perform and communicate, will be remembered as much as what he did or didn't do.
I think he set a standard of communication with the American public that just nobody's going to be able to live up to.
But it cuts both ways. Mr. Reagan's style also included leaving important details to others and applying easy generalities to complicated problems.
He fails in ways that come from his weaknesses, and his weaknesses are lack of attention to detail, lack of thought.
In 1981, many people doubted whether anyone could survive the presidency, a job which had exhausted or defeated so many. 8 years later, after a bullet wound and cancer surgery, friend and foe agree that Ronald Reagan has done more than survive. Judgments on his record aside, Mr. Reagan exits as he entered, amiable, optimistic, and popular as ever. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
Congress opened confirmation hearings today for a close friend and key player for George Bush, Secretary of State designate James Jim Baker. CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer reports the hearings showed that while the popular Baker may be a novice at foreign relations, he knows plenty about congressional relations.
It was a love feast. You might have expected the Republican leader in the Senate to laud Baker, and of course he did.
He's a man of integrity, a man of principle. He's my friend.
But some feared the moderate Baker was certain to get some heat from the Republican right, until Jesse Helms took his turn.
I believe that you are uniquely qualified to carry out the President-elect's objectives in foreign policy.
And then there were the fears that Democrats were still bitter about the rough-and-tumble campaign. Lloyd Benson put that to rest.
And that our national interests will be strongly protected if Jim Baker is Secretary of State.
In a town where little happens by chance, today's friendly reception was a classic Jim Baker production. One of George Bush's oldest friends and one of Washington's smoothest operators, he's known for leaving nothing to chance and spent weeks cultivating the committee.
I know you went around to see each and every member of this committee beforehand, and if you spent roughly the same amount of time you did with this senator, that was a Herculean effort.
Baker's main message, to urge a new bipartisanship in foreign policy.
So yes, this is an appeal, Mr. Chairman, for a kinder and gentler Congress.
Among a few specifics, a promise of no radical shift in dealings with the Soviets.
We must approach the Soviet Union realistically and very prudently.
And a promise not to abandon the Nicaraguan Contras.
We simply cannot do that. The United States simply must not do that.
The rap on Baker is that he has little experience in foreign policy, but to succeed in foreign policy, an administration must first win over the Congress, and as Baker demonstrated today, he knows a lot about how to do that. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Shortly after introducing fellow Texan Jim Baker around at today's hearings, Senator Lloyd Benson received word that his 95-year-old father died in a car crash near the Benson family ranch in South Texas. Police said the elder Benson, who insisted on driving himself to the end, hit another car when he somehow failed to yield the right-of-way at an intersection. 2 people in the second car were injured. A Delta Airlines spokesman today said engineers discovered emergency sprinkler system wiring errors in 2 Boeing 757 aircraft. That brings to 7 the number of those Boeing models having similar problems.
You've just been caught knocking off the Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran. What's the most intelligent way to respond?
Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran? Define the word eat. Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
Yeah.
Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
Yo, Mom, your shoelace.
With the crunchy sweet taste of Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran, an open box is an empty box.
I have just the thing for that cold.
Most kids think that medicine has to taste bad, but there's one cold medicine that relieves both kids and colds. Dimetap, grape-flavored Dimetap elixir, recommended millions of times by pediatricians and pharmacists. After all, a cold medicine can't work if you can't get it down.
You like Dimetap?
Grape-flavored Dimetap elixir. It relieves kids as well as colds.
A little exercise never hurts, and neither does eating right, especially when it's Sunsweet pitted prunes with yogurt. Rounder, plumper Sunsweet. So good tasting, and so good for you.
Gas pain, bloating. Gas-X has the strongest, fastest relief ingredient. Painful gas is like beer bubbles. Add the leading antacid. Add Gas-X. Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas. The strongest, fastest reliever for gas pain and bloating. Gas-X.
Dan Quayle will become Vice President of the United States Friday. During the election campaign, questions were raised about his record, his war record and his school record, his judgment and fitness to be president should anything happen to George Bush. The new CBS News New York Times poll tonight suggests questions about Quayle remain. 23% of those polls said they had an unfavorable view of him, 19% favorable, almost 6 out of 10 said they weren't sure, they had no opinion. CBS News National Affairs correspondent Leslie Stahl looks tonight at Dan Quayle, 3 days away from being a heartbeat away.
George Bush has been high profile since the election, but number one has not asked his number two to share the spotlight. The impression, Dan Quayle is being cut out.
Every decision appears to the public eye to be made without any input from you.
I meet every day with George Bush, meet personally, we talk on the phone. I have given my advice on a number of issues.
I think to date they've sort of treated Mr. Quayle, this is public perception, as though they don't want him out front much. They're a little embarrassed about him.
Walter Mondale was a strong vice president under Jimmy Carter. He thinks Mr. Bush should be bolstering Quayle's image. He says Quayle is on the verge of going down in history as a laughingstock. He's already a joke in prime time.
And let's not forget your interview with the girl Dan Quayle paid to take to his senior prom.
Do you concede that there is a public perception out there that you are not prepared to be president?
No, I do not concede that. I am prepared. I think there's a question that the American people have of Dan Quayle. I think the coverage of Dan Quayle during the campaign stopped at the registrar's office at DePaul University, as if I didn't have 12 years of public service in the Congress.
Dan Quayle really serves only to be ready in the event of a mishap. And that's where the Bush people really have to focus. There's a lot of doubt out there about whether Dan Quayle is prepared.
It is also in Mr. Bush's interest to include Quayle to prove he didn't make a mistake in picking him. Quayle says he will be brought in.
Anytime I want to see the president, I can see the president. Any meetings that he has that I want to attend, I can attend. The flow of information, the paper that goes into his office will also come to my office.
The question is, what does he have to offer the new president, the consummate Washington insider? Quayle is being urged to use the right wing as his independent power base, as his leverage, but that could be seen as disloyal to the president.
I'm going to be the spokesman for George Bush and nobody else.
Quayle went to former vice presidents for advice and was told avoid being trivialized. Don't do all sorts of minor things in order to prove that you're working hard.
It's my impression of Mr. Quayle that he's natively able enough. But what I don't know is whether he will apply himself in a way that demonstrates stature and substance.
I will. You know, it's very interesting. My whole public career, what people have tried to tell me what I can't do. I have proven people wrong in the past, and if you want to talk about perceptions, I'm going to prove a lot of people wrong in the future.
Quayle wants to be an ambassador to the inner cities to prove Republicans can be sensitive to the poor, and he wants to focus on foreign policy. If he does do well, he knows that like 5 vice presidents since World War II, he could end up being president of the United States. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, Washington.
when your coffee's rich enough for all working day long, and it tastes your way.
It's necessarily Nescafe. Great coffee blends to taste your way. That's necessarily Nescafe.
The truth is, heart specialists concerned about aspirin irritation recommend Ecotrin over Bayer to help prevent second heart attack. Consult your doctor about the only brand of aspirin that's safety coated to protect your stomach. That's Ecotrin, and that's the truth.
The #1 hit.
How fast can Ambisol relieve toothache pain? Before you can say
Ambisol.
canker sore pain? Before you can say
Ambisol.
Ambisol relieves minor mouth pain on contact. Ambisol, liquid or gel.
Because the menu lifestyle was designed with my health in mind.
I feel good. I knew that I would now. So good, so good. I got you.
If you want to control your sodium, cholesterol, and fat intake, delicious Le Menu lifestyle lets you feel
so good, so good. I got you.
Poland's communist leaders ended a long debate tonight and prepared to vote on whether to re-legalize the banned Solidarity Union. Prime Minister Mieczysław Rakowski recommended giving the union a 2-year trial period, but he warned that it would have to be a different kind of union, one that would work with the government and the party rather than oppose them. Israel tried out yet another battle plan against the Arab uprising today, but the results were more of the same. 3 Palestinians died, 16 were wounded in clashes on the Israeli-occupied West Bank and Gaza. Bob Simon is there.
With more casualties every day now, Palestinians keep coming back for more. The Israelis, trained and equipped to fight several sophisticated armies at the same time, have still not solved the problem they've been facing for more than a year.
Our major problem in coping with the violence in the territories is stone throwing.
Rabin announced tough new measures and began their implementation at once. Houses of stone throwers will be demolished, he said. 3 were blown up today in the West Bank town of Kalkulia. The firing of plastic bullets will be permitted in more situations and by more soldiers, he said, not just by officers, which has been the case until now. The army took the unusual step today of announcing that 26 Palestinians have been killed and 492 wounded in the last 30 days, making it the bloodiest month of the uprising. In recent weeks, many Palestinians have been wounded, some killed by new ammunition the army is using. It's a metal ball the size of a marble, covered with a thin coating of rubber. The Israelis say it's a rubber bullet designed to decrease fatalities. Palestinians disagree.
2 people were killed here in Gaza Strip from this type of bullet. They call it rubber bullet, but it's not rubber.
Touring the West Bank town of Nablus today, Prime Minister Shamir encountered anger and hostility from a group of elite Israeli paratroops. In a question and answer session, they urged him to find a political solution and get them out of an impossible situation. We act brutally against innocent people, this reserve soldier said. These are not the values we grew up with. Shamir blamed the brutality on the Palestinians.
They force us sometimes to kill people we don't want to kill them.
Shamir is under growing pressure to come up with a viable peace initiative, not only from the Americans and the Europeans, but increasingly from the command of the Israeli army. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
A new specter tonight on the world scene, the possible spread of biological weapons. CBS News has been told that State Department officials now believe that Iraq, which used chemical warfare weapons in its battles against Iran, that Iraq is now producing weapons for germ warfare as well. Kurdish groups recently charged that Iraq spread typhoid germs in Kurdish rebel areas inside Iraq, but U.S. officials say they cannot confirm any actual use of germ warfare by the Iraqis. The United States, the Soviet Union, and more than 40 other nations signed a treaty supposedly banning biological warfare in 1975, but the Pentagon has said it believes about 10 nations possess or are developing biological warfare weapons. Mikhail Gorbachev met today with a distinguished messenger from George Bush. The rehabilitated former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger was at the Kremlin, and the Soviet news agency said Kissinger brought some ideas from President-elect Bush on future Soviet-American relations. Kissinger also got a briefing on Soviet plans to cut back their conventional forces in Eastern Europe starting in April.
Along with the fiber, are you getting something extra in your high-fiber cereal? All of these cereals contain sodium and added sugar. Fiber One, however, is low in sodium and has absolutely no added sugar. And you get more fiber in Fiber One. So get more of the fiber your body needs and less of the stuff it doesn't. Get Fiber One.
When people count on you, count on Post-it brand notes.
My son Icky got the Cutlass Supreme SL because it has front-wheel drive, FE3 suspension, and because tests prove that the new T-Bird LX and Cougar LS just couldn't run the slalom as fast. That kid, he's got all the moves.
This is not your father's old
I learned it from you, Mom.
This is the new generation of
More reports tonight of outbreaks in Miami, which was shaken by some arson and looting last evening. Correspondent Juan Vasquez is standing by in Miami. Juan, keeping in mind we want to have this in perspective, what's happening there at the moment?
Police are especially worried tonight, Dan, because the reports of violence are spreading from the Overtown area to the Liberty City area, which is about 2 miles north of Overtown, and like Overtown, a part of Miami that has a history of racial violence. That's where there was some of the serious rioting in 1980. And what we have tonight is we have a lot of reports of sporadic violence, of looting. We know that a Canadian television crew was assaulted. We know that at least one bus has been stoned. Police have a lot of reports of groups of youths roaming through the streets and causing violence. Cars have been stopped. There's also a report of a meat truck that was looted and the driver was assaulted. And tonight, the city announced that it was canceling the NBA basketball game between the Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns. That's at the Miami Arena located at the edge of Overtown.
Thank you, Juan Vasquez in Miami. We emphasize that this is all happening in particular sections of Miami and not in the whole city, much less the whole area. For now, that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather, there'll be more details on this and other stories, of course, on your late local news. I'll be reporting from Washington for the rest of this inauguration week. So see you tomorrow from our nation's capital. Good night.
This is CBS.
Coming up on Eyewitness News tonight, new figures show the frightening extent of Metro's homeless problem. We'll have a report. At Fort Campbell, Kentucky, vandals rip apart school classrooms. We'll tell you what happened. And a police officer punches his way right into court. Those stories and the latest on Metro's budget dilemma. There have been some new developments. Eyewitness News is next.
The greatest boat sale of the year, the Middle Tennessee Boat Show, will be held over beginning Thursday, January 19th through Sunday, January 22nd at the North End Exhibition Center at 100 Oaks